Most people think reality is a fixed point, a solid, dependable foundation of cause and effect. They believe their thoughts are private, that their dreams are just meaningless static generated by a sleeping brain. They are wrong. They live in a house they've never seen the blueprints for. I've seen them. I've walked the halls they can't even imagine. They used to call it Astral Projection, a term dripping with mysticism and incense. We have a better name for it now: lucid navigation. The field was born from a glitch, an accident in early neural interface research. Scientists discovered that consciousness isn't a prisoner of the skull. With the right training, the right meditative state, it can unmoor itself. It can step outside. And the place it steps into, we call it the Noosphere, the collective unconscious of humanity made tangible. It's not another dimension. It's a psychic landscape built from every idea, every dream, every forgotten memory and fleeting emotion of our species. A chaotic, ever-shifting sea of pure concept. Most people only ever dip their toes in its shallowest pools when they dream. But a few of us, we learn to swim. We are the Psychonauts, the cognitive cartographers. And I was the best. In the physical world, my name is Kalen. I was unremarkable, a data analyst, a ghost in a corporate machine, invisible and unheard. I felt powerless. Then I found the forums, the leaked research papers, the hidden community of navigators. My first projection was a clumsy, terrifying tumble into the darkness above my own sleeping body. But in that terror, I felt a sense of control I had never known. I became obsessed. My analytical mind, wasted on spreadsheets, was perfectly suited for finding patterns in the Noosphere's chaos. While others fumbled with spiritual nonsense, I was a technician. I mapped stable realms built from shared mythologies. I charted safe passages through violent seas of raw rage. I shared my findings, and the quiet man no one noticed in the real world became a legend in the one that truly mattered. I was Kalen the cartographer, the Magellan of the mind. My arrogance grew with my skill. I saw the Noosphere as a frontier to be conquered, and I was its sole pioneer. So when the whispers started, I didn't feel fear. I felt an invitation. It was a post on an encrypted forum. A new user, their message fragmented and terrified. They spoke of a place they had accidentally breached, a dead zone where the verse itself went to rot. They called it the Somnus Yard, the land of the lost. The post was deleted by moderators within minutes, replaced by a stark warning. Some territories are not meant to be charted. Some doors are not meant to be opened. For everyone else, it was a warning. For me, it was the last blank spot on the map, my Everest. Finding the entrance took weeks. It wasn't a grand portal. It was a glitch, a patch of reality in a deep, stable dream realm that felt wrong. It looked like a cluster of dead pixels in the air, emitting a profound psychic silence. The very energy of the Noosphere seemed to curve around it. Pushing my consciousness through it was a uniquely painful experience, like being scraped against the static of a dead television screen. And then I was through. The air, if you could call it that, was thick with the smell of ozone, old paper, and faint lingering regret. The sky was a permanent, featureless, soul-crushing gray. I was standing on a desolate plain of decay. This was the Somnus Yard. I was surrounded by mountains of discarded concepts, a hill of crumbling yellowed letters that smelled faintly of a grandmother's perfume, a rusting playground where the echo of laughter was a thin, dying sound, roads paved with the fading, muted colors of a billion forgotten sunsets. And there were inhabitants. The Idola. They were the first things I saw. Tragic figures, once beloved imaginary friends, now twisted by the slow, grinding pain of being forgotten. I saw a tall, shadowy knight, his armor weeping flakes of rust like tears. I saw a teddy bear the size of a car, its fur matted and gray, its button eyes weeping a fine black dust. They were heartbreaking. I felt a detached pity, the kind a tourist feels looking at ancient ruins. I had no idea I was walking through a graveyard of my own making. I moved deeper, the arrogant cartographer in me taking over. I saw other things, predatory clouds of raw emotion called echo swarms, a chittering dark mist that I recognized as the collected dregs of a million childhood nightmares. I saw conceptual drifters, unstable, half-formed ideas that floated aimlessly like geometric jellyfish. I knew to avoid them. My mistake, my fatal, arrogant mistake, was thinking anything here was safe. I saw it, nestled in a pile of gray scrap, a memory. It was perfectly preserved, a brightly colored orb humming with pure, uncut joy. I could feel the concept within, a child's first bike ride. It was beautiful, a perfect specimen. I, the great collector, reached out my astral form to touch it, to analyze it. And the moment I made contact, the orb didn't just fade, it shattered like glass, its light and energy violently siphoned away into nothing. And in that instant, a silent psychic scream ripped across the entire plane. A beacon had been lit. In the far distance, the very landscape, the mountains of scrap, the gray earth began to move. It folded, shifted, and pulled itself together, coalescing into a single, massive, complex shape. A rotating crystalline construct of impossible angles and interlocking polyhedrons. It was the custodian. I felt no anger from it, no malice, only a cold, analytical, and absolute awareness directed entirely at me. I had been noticed. I had been identified.
My first instinct was to flee. I turned back towards the glitch gate, but the path was gone. The landscape had been rewritten. The custodian didn't chase me, not in the traditional sense. It was a grandmaster playing on a chessboard the size of a world, and I was a single, panicked pawn. Mountains of forgotten toys shifted to block my path. Canyons filled with the moaning echoes of lost love opened at my feet. The hunt wasn't a pursuit, it was a relentless architectural trap. I hid, my arrogance evaporating into pure, cold fear. I took refuge inside the husk of a forgotten dream, a perfect replica of my high school hallway. I waited, my astral heart pounding, until the silent, geometric form of the custodian glided past my hiding place. When it was gone, I tried to ground myself, to pull up a core memory, the face of my first girlfriend, Sarah. The image wouldn't form. It was blurry, a smudge. I could remember her name, the fact that we dated, but the details, the color of her eyes, the sound of her laugh, the feeling of holding her hand, they were gone, hollowed out. I realized with a wave of nauseating terror that the custodian hadn't just passed by. It had scanned me, and it had pruned the corresponding memory from my mind as if it were obsolete data. My mind, my fortress, the one place I was king, had been breached. I was running, truly running now, through a forest of skeletal, leafless trees that wept a sap of pure melancholy. I was being hunted by a feral eidolon, a once fluffy rabbit creature, now a gaunt, snarling thing with teeth like broken glass. Just as it lunged, a tall, cloaked figure stepped in its path. The figure wasn't made of flesh. Its cloak seemed woven from old, leathery book bindings, and its face was a shifting, mesmerizing mask of ancient, unreadable text. It raised a hand, and the feral rabbit whimpered and retreated. "You are a wound," the figure said, its voice the sound of turning pages. "You do not belong." This was the archivist, a lucid remnant, a companion to a long-dead philosopher who still retained its purpose. It explained that the custodian's function was to recycle obsolete concepts, to keep the noosphere from collapsing under its own weight. But the yard is sick. The decay accelerates. The rot spreads too fast. This is not its natural state. You are not the first cartographer to arrive, but your presence, it is different. It offered no other explanation. The hunt escalated. The custodian was no longer just rearranging the world, it was actively targeting my identity. I would be running and suddenly forget the meditative mantra required to stay anchored in the verse. I would hide and forget my own last name for a terrifying minute. It was a constant, desperate war on two fronts, one against the hostile, shifting world around me, and one against the slow, systematic erasure of my own soul. The archivist, sensing my unique power and desperation, decided I was the key to understanding the yard's sickness. It led me to the center of the plane, to the heart of the yard. It was a massive, swirling vortex of raw psychic energy, pulling everything into its maw. I could see countless faint, shimmering streams of energy, fading dreams, forgotten ideas, being drawn in to be unmade. It was a terrifying, beautiful sight. But then I saw something else, something wrong. One stream of energy wasn't flowing in, it was flowing out. A thick, impossibly vibrant river of pure psychic power, pulsing with life, resisting the pull of the vortex. I followed its path with my astral sight, tracing it out of the yard, through the glitch gate, across the noosphere. And I saw where it ended. It was connected directly to my own sleeping physical body, lying inert in my apartment miles away. The final act. The tone shifts to one of dawning cosmic horror. I stared, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. The archivist spoke, its voice no longer just paper, but the sound of a closing book. "It is not a sickness in the yard. The sickness is in you. You are the anomaly, the wound." And then the custodian cornered me. It didn't attack. It simply opened itself to me. It flooded my consciousness with pure, raw data. No words, no images, just the cold, hard mathematical truth. My entire life, my entire identity as Kaelan the cartographer was a lie. I wasn't a brilliant navigator. I was a psychic singularity, a man born with a rare, devastating mutation of the subconscious. I didn't just visit the noosphere. I passively, unconsciously drained it. My incredible power, my intuitive grasp of the verse, my quick learning, it was all fueled by the stolen dream energy and nascent ideas of countless other minds. I was a psychic parasite. The Somnus Yard wasn't just for things that were forgotten. It was a repository for things that were stolen by me before they ever had a chance to fully form. Every mournful eidolon, every faded memory, they were my victims. I was the cancer causing the system-wide decay. The custodian wasn't hunting a trespasser. It was the noosphere's immune system trying to quarantine me. I was not an explorer. I was a plague. The weight of that truth was absolute. My pride, my identity, everything I had built shattered into cosmic dust. But even then, my survival instinct, that arrogant core of self-preservation, fought back. I refused to be unmade. I did the one thing I shouldn't have. I intentionally drew on my power, pulling energy directly from the yard itself. The world screamed. The mournful eidolons around me dissolved into dust, their energy siphoned into me. The ground cracked. For a single, triumphant moment, the custodian's perfect geometric form flickered, destabilized by my direct assault. And in that moment, it changed its protocol. The data stream in my mind shifted from recycle anomaly to isolate threat. It stopped fighting. It focused all its immense reality-bending power on a single, final task. The desolate landscape of the Somnus Yard dissolved around me. The gray sky vanished. The smell of dust and regret was gone. I was standing in my bedroom. The morning sun was streaming through the window. I could feel the familiar weight of my physical body, the soft cotton of the sheets on my skin. I sat up, my heart pounding, drenched in sweat. Relief, so pure and overwhelming it was almost painful, washed over me. It was a dream, a horrifyingly vivid, terrifying nightmare. I got out of bed, my legs shaky. I walked to my desk, where I keep my astral projection journals, my maps of the universe. I needed to write this down. I picked up my favorite pen. It had no weight. I looked down at my hand. For a split second, it seemed transparent. I blinked, and it was solid again. I rushed to the bathroom mirror. My reflection was perfect, staring back at me, looking tired but real. I tried to feel the relief again, but the emotion was hollow, an echo, an intellectual concept of relief without the actual feeling. I stumbled back into my room, my real heart, wherever it was, beginning to pound with a new and final kind of terror. I tried to project, to feel the familiar tug of my consciousness unmooring itself. There was nothing. A dead line. My eyes scanned the room, desperately looking for proof, for something real. Everything was perfect. My books on the shelf, the clothes on my chair, the crack in the ceiling. It was all exactly as it should be, except for one detail. A single slim book on my shelf that I had never seen before. I walked towards it, my hand trembling as I reached out. The title was printed in simple, stark black letters. It read, "A Cartographer's Guide to a Single Room." I am not in my room. I am in a perfect memory-forged prison cell, a quarantine.